This video is sponsored by Into the AM. What is the most fun way to play Warhammer, and why is it spam?
Spam. Don't knock it till you've fried it.
Now I know what you're thinking. Aren't spam lists some terrible, cheesy, win-at-all-cost nonsense that destroy the meta and are ruining our beloved games? And yeah, they can be, but not all of them are. In fact, a specific type of reduced salt spam list I personally recommend typically isn't a tournament 5-0 win machine. These lists, this particular playstyle, is not about being able to win. They're all about having fun. And what is more fun than rolling up to battle with as many big-ass models as you could possibly field? I'm talking lists with 5 Gorkanauts and Morkanauts in 40k, or 16 tanks, a godforsaken Hurricanum, and a dream in AOS. The Monster Mash list. Lists comprised of multiple the same big chunky models that can dish out loads of damage and take some punches too. Just about every faction in AOS or 40k has some big boy options. And larger models tend to be the easiest kind of proxy, scratch build, or convert. So you don't have to sell your second favorite kidney to give this type of army a try. There are several more great reasons to run a Monster Bash list, which we'll get to soon. But first, how do you make one? Great question, and lucky for you, it is the easiest type of list to build. As easy as making a spam sandwich. First, of course, we're going to need a couple chaff units to support our big boys. A bit boring, I know, but a few units of chaff can sit on backline objectives and of course screen some of your opponent's hammers. You gotta protect your meat with something after all. Now get the cheapest stuff possible. I'm talking Wonder Bread cheap. Opting for the delicious, tangy yet complex artisanal sourdough that is Orc Commandos or Stormcast Vanquishers may be great options for a varied list, but that's not what we're here for. No. We're here for the meat. Go into your army and find what you think is the most badass thick boy around, and add as many of these into your army as points and rules allow. If you're playing Soulblight Gravelords, it's time to run that all zombie dragon list. If you're Astro Militarum, let the meat tank. Hopefully these units have the following 2 characteristics. It packs a wallop. You want 2 or 3 of these to be strong enough to take out an enemy unit a turn, at least semi-consistently. And they've got to be thick with 2 Cs, able to take some return fire. Of course, in 40k, you only get to run 3 of each unit per list, or 6 if it's battle line or a dedicated transport. My suggestion to get around this is to run different big boys with similar profiles and weapon loadouts. And there is a great reason to run a lot of the same weaponry, but more on that in a little bit. Now this is a perfectly good sandwich already. Bread and meat. What's not to love? But it's missing something. Some zhuzh, some panache, some flavor. And this is where your heroes and leaders come in. These are the toppings, sauces, or seasonings of the list. Look for your faction and find the heroes that complement your meat the best. Slapping a hot fried egg that is a Hurricanum into a list of 4 steam tanks, making their cannonball shots more consistent, is divine. Kragnos giving the chonky chops of porks that are Stonehorns, the OG monster trucks 3d6 to charge, is delightful. And Morkanauts and Gorkanauts with a peak of mech giving them 4 up to hit are to die for. Find the best pairing for your army, add it to your list, and dig in. That's not good. You know what I've been digging into recently? This video sponsor, Into the AM. Into the AM makes the fantastic shirts I've been wearing this whole video, and almost non-stop since these shirts came in a couple weeks ago. They are very soft and snuggly and fit my body in all the right ways. Into the AM shirts are a little bit longer than most t-shirts, which is a fantastic way to limit unintentional innie versus audio reveals. You just gotta leave some things to the imagination. The sleeves are also a little bit longer than most t-shirts, which means they don't roll up my arm hams as often. Their fantastic, unique shirt designs are just so cool. I'm a big space nerd and they have plenty of options that appeal to that little side obsession of mine. Like, look, hold on. There's a little space guy. Look at him. If graphic tees just aren't your style, you can also pick up a pack of their basic line, which fit and feel just the same, but are a little more low-key. Use the link in the description to up your wardrobe with an automatic 10% off discount and live life a little more comfortably. Thank you Into the AM for sponsoring this video. So now you know how to build your Monster Mash spam list, but why would you want to run one? What makes the spam sandwich taste so good? Well, there are 3 great reasons why you would want to, and 2 potential reasons on why you maybe shouldn't. Let's start with the pros. Pro number 1, it's fun. Walking up to the board with 5 to 10 monsters or mechs and just smashing them into my opponent's army fills me with a childish glee. It's just such an inherently fun way to play these games that it's difficult to put this into words. I doubt this type of list is for everyone, but chances are if you made it this far into the video, it appeals to you as well. And sure, taking a variety list that can tackle any number of foes is recommended. balanced maybe. But if you do that, you might introduce yourself to a real foe, not just within the game, but of it. Rules. You don't have to memorize 12 different units to know how to play with this type of army, just a handful of them. Which is great, because these are fairly complex games we're playing, and focusing in and really getting to know a handful of war scrolls is an amazing change of pace. Just think about how often you've had to check and recheck your unit's rules throughout a game. Limiting the amount of rules that you need to know offers you the opportunity to truly dig into them and learn them well. Even after playing AOS for almost as long as it's been out, my favorite lists to run are my favorite because I only have to know a few war scrolls or data slates, and after playing just 3 to 4 games, I know them pretty well, which allows me to focus purely on the game at hand. And after playing the list a couple times, I can pull a couple of these monsters into a regular varied list, and I can expect how it will perform based on experience. Last on the reasons you may want to play an army like this is, it's a pretty cheap way to play. Let me pull that back a little bit. It's a cheap way to play if you're okay with playing non-GW models. Games Workshop centerpieces are a little bit way overpriced in my opinion, just like everything else they sell. My recommendation though is to proxy or scratch build your monster mash list. I built my steampunk/dieselpunk Hobbit Cities of Sigmar army out of $2 to $3 toys from Goodwill. With a few toys, a big old bottle of super glue, and a dream, any vaguely robotic or mechanical themed army can be made if you have the eyes and patience for that type of thing. If you don't, that's okay too, because proxying this type of army is easy as well. Planning to run a parking lot of Lehman Russes and or Baneblades? Model tank kits are cheapest chips compared to GW, and you can find the dimensions of GW models and tank kits with some Googling to make sure they are about the right size. It probably won't be exactly the same, but the style of list is more for friendly games and narrative tournaments where size just doesn't matter as much. If you have a monster-based Monster Bash list, you can just straight up use kids' toys and action figures, modified and glued to bases, of course. Don't buy big bases from GW, by the way. Jesus Christ. 3D print them, or get a friend to 3D print them, or go to the library and 3D print them. They cost literally like 25 cents worth of materials to print these things on an FDM printer. Did you know that libraries in the US have printers now? Probably not like all of them, but several do in my area, so might be worth checking yours. Speaking of 3D printers, if you have a 3D printer, you already know how cheap it is to print off a handful of larger models, and your options are just about endless. Okay, we have some great reasons to run a Monster Bash list. Let's talk about a few reasons why you may not want to. But first, if you've been enjoying the video, it would mean a whole lot to me if you hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, why not subscribe? It's free and it would literally make my day. Thanks. Anyway, con number 1. This isn't always fun for your opponent. If your particular flavor of monster spam is overpowered at the moment, these lists are not the most fun to play against. We all know GW tries their best with balancing, but sometimes things are just way off points wise. And this type of list is particularly well suited to exploit that. If your list is crazy powerful, you should have fun with it a couple times, but if you're playing with the same people consistently and steamrolling them over and over again, it's probably time to switch it up for their sake. Or they may opt to not play you again in the future. As much fun as these steam tanks are to play, I get why people don't like going up against a full list of 12 wound models with a 2-up save. It makes sense. Con number 2, it's not a good starter army. I would never recommend this type of army to a new player. Unless you're a newbie and no other type of army appeals to you, I really recommend going for a more generalized list that interacts with all the different parts of these games. This way you can learn the games as they are intended to be played, with a wide variety of different unit types and in-game abilities. This style of play has much more of a second or third army kind of energy, when you are looking for something that hits just a little bit different. Plus, I'm sure painting something as large as these monsters is a bit intimidating to people who are new into the hobby. It's really not much harder if you have the right tools, but I wouldn't really recommend an airbrush to somebody just getting started in Warhammer either. So that's the Monster Mash spam list. What do you think? Does this style of play sound fun to you? Let me know what your particular flavor of Monster Mash is or would be. Are you an Eldar player walking up to the table with 6 Wraith Knights? Or more of an Oops All Piggies Iron Jaws player? Let me know in the comments below. Huge shout out to today's sponsor, Into the AM. Go ahead and order yourself some shirts using the link in the description with that hot 10% off. And a monster-sized thank you to my patrons for making these videos possible. Thank you so much. If you want to see some videos where I make big boys from scratch, check out this playlist right here. Until next time, y'all, stay happy and take care. Bye-bye.